The potential Jon Snow sequel that centered on Kit Harington's character calls for two important Game of Thrones alumni to return to the story. The sequel project will be the first of its kind in that it will pick up after the events of the original fantasy drama that wrapped in 2019. In June 2022, it was reported that HBO has entered the early developmental phase of the spin-off, with Harrington attached to step back into Jon Snow's shoes. However, there are a few other characters that should accompany him. But before we head back to the Night's Watch, I'd like to say hello guys and gals, I'm Nick and welcome to 30's Feedback. So, in Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 2 A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Jon Snow discovered his Targaryen lineage, that he was Aegon Targaryen, the trueborn son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, and thus, amid the civil war that plagued the Seven Kingdoms, his was the strongest claim to the Iron Throne. Jon, however, was sentenced to the Night's Watch as punishment for killing Daenerys Targaryen. He accepted his fate and headed back to Castle Black, where he reunited with his wildling friend Tormund Giantsbane and direwolf Ghost. Minutes before Game of Thrones' curtain closed, Jon, Tormund, Ghost and a pack of wildlings left Castle Black and rode off far into the north. Should the spin-off series see the light of day, the storytelling demands that Jon's faithful pals Ghost and Tormund stand by his side to join him in his expeditions. In a Q&A session at the official Game of Thrones convention recently held in Los Angeles, Harrington shared insights on Game of Thrones' finale and called Jon's exile the greatest gift and also the greatest curse. In his words, he's got to go back up to the place with all this history and live out his life thinking about how he killed Daenerys, and live out his life thinking about Ygritte dying in his arms, and live out his life thinking about how he hung Ollie, and live out his life thinking about all of this trauma. Harrington, as a start, acknowledged his character's tragedy, and the fact remains the only two characters he can share his trauma and heal with are his direwolf and his all-weather friend. While Jon and Tormund forged a circumstantial relationship, it grew more meaningful with every curveball Westerosi politics and the army of the dead threw their way. The fact that Tormund also comes from the same tribe that Jon's first lover Ygritte came from provides the spin-off a strong starting point to carry the story forward. While the Game of Thrones finale was deemed to be truncated, the fact is, in Jon Snow's unfinished arc lies the potential of an entertaining sequel project and the inclusion of more alumni. The spin-off thus provides ample opportunities for several characters from the original, such as Game of Thrones' Tyrion Lannister, to show up. Tyrion remains the strongest contender on account of the fact that he holds the key position of the Hand of the King, and could very well once again require Jon Snow's company at the edge of the world. The door also remains open for Sir Brienne of Tarth, who at Game of Thrones' end was appointed as the new Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Her inclusion would once again pique her quirky long-term admirer Tormund's interest and provide the much needed humorous tone to an otherwise grim preface. While Tormund and Ghost must be a part of the Jon Snow spin-off series, numerous other Game of Thrones characters' returns can strongly help define the said Game of Thrones sequel's story setting. What do you guys think? Should Tormund and Ghost be in the series as a must? And who else would you like to see in the spin-off? Let me know below.